Good morning and welcome to the Petitti Pro Garden Show. Thank you all for getting up early and being with us this morning so that we can talk about gardening. We have so much going on. This week has just been full of different weather. We've had some rain a couple days. We had some wind and some thunderstorms. We've had some nice sunny weather. So it looks like our gardens are all starting to take off. Also, our landscapes are taking off. I have seen all kinds of things going on with insects and diseases, and we just have a lot, that's happening. And so we have some answers to a lot of questions that y'all have had this week. And there's a lot of stuff going on because of it being spring. So we're going to get going today and talk a lot about all the different things and issues that you all have in your landscapes. If you have questions that you would like us to answer on the air, we would love you to ask them. You can do it a couple different ways. You can give us a call at 330-455-5997. You can email me your questions at cindypetitti@gmail.com. That's CINDYPETTI@gmail.com. Or by all means, bring your questions to us at the greenhouse. You can see everything that's going on there, and you can stop out at 5828 Columbus Road, and that's in Nimishillen Township, right on the corner of Columbus and Broadway. And bring us your issues. Put your plant, a piece of your plant in a Ziploc baggie and bring it over and let us see what's going on. And we will definitely try to answer your questions for you. So we have had some of those questions, and we're going to make sure that we answer all of those for you. There are some things going on in our community this week. Actually, tomorrow, the St. Peter's School, which is downtown in Canton, they have some things going on. This is their second annual celebration of the arts contest, and this year the theme was color, and the students in grades kindergarten through 5th grade have been working on for months their projects in their art class. And they also have an independent entry where the students created art pieces outside of the school as well. And they also had a visual art category. They had judges this year, of course. Father Edward Benlate, pastor at St. Peter's Church, and there were 2 ladies from Holy Cross Academy, and also Todd Wilburn volunteered his time. He is the owner of 2nd April Art Gallery in Canton, and they were all the judges. And so tomorrow, the 1st of May, in the social hall from 9 to 11, if you can fit that in before church or after church, right there at 702 Cleveland Avenue. You can see all of the beautiful artwork, and you'll also be able to view all of the winners. They're at St. Peter's, they're just doing amazing things with the kids, and they just have a lot going on down there. So this would be a great opportunity for you to see what's going on down there at St. Peter's School. Also, on the 10th of May, my goodness, I can't believe it's just next week. The 10th of May, the Nimishillen Louisville Historical Society is having their annual dinner and fundraiser. And I'm telling all of you about this because they have always do some type of entertainment or informational session during their annual dinner, and they also have a silent auction, but they always give information, historical information out about something in our county, and normally in Nimishillen Township or in Louisville. And this year they are featuring the Molly Stark Hospital, which is now part of our great Stark Parks Association, and we have someone from Stark Parks that will be there explaining what has happened, but they have a wonderful amount of information about the history of Molly Stark Hospital. And so if you are interested in that history. We invite you to get information. Come out to the event. They would like to have all reservations in by this coming Monday, May 2nd. So if you could get your information or your request to come to them. Actually, you can call the store and we can get you everything that you need. But that is going to be on May 10th at 6:30 in the evening. The event starts with dinner, and then there'll be a silent auction and just a great time of fellowship with local folks, but also wonderful information about the historic Molly Stark Hospital. So we would love everyone to be able to get some of that information. There's just so much history there. And of course, right there in my backyard in Michelin Township. But it's a great, great event, and we would love you to come out. So if you have questions about that, give us a call at the store at 330-455-5997, or the Nimishillen Louisville Historical Society does have a Facebook page and also a website, so you can check them out there and get all that information. So we are going to go ahead and get started on our questions, and we have had slews of questions. I can't even begin to answer all of them that we have had this week, but a lot of you have had some questions, not only about your vegetable gardens, but also about your landscapes. And some of them are the typical ones that we get, hydrangeas, why aren't they blooming? Different things like that. But this one, there were some evergreens in the landscape, and they have spots that are dead in them. They wanted to know, was it worth trying to treat them and bring them back, or should they just pull them out and let them die and start all over? Well, in this situation, you need to know how much of the plant is gone. So if you have a dying evergreen shrub and over a quarter of it is dead, it's probably not worth saving. Because even if you trim it out, find the problem, control the problem, by the time it grows back in, it's going to take so long to fill in, a quarter of the plant. It's going to really not be worth it, and it's probably better to go ahead and sacrifice the plant. Now, the only time you're probably going to want to do this if this plant is matching another one up, and the other one looks great and this one does not. So in that case, if you can find the problem, if it's an insect, you're going to treat the insect. If it's a disease, kill the disease and then trim it out and then start fertilizing it on a regular basis. And I don't mean spring and fall like we always talk about. You're probably going to want to fertilize it once a month with a great organic fertilizer. This sounds a little funny, but if you'll fertilize only that side of the shrub, it does seem to really push growth on the side where you have that dead spot out of. And it will come back in, but you are still looking at usually 3 to 5 years before that spot is going to fill in all the way so that you can't tell it, while you're still trimming the other side of the plant as a regular trimming a couple times a year, depending on the shrub, so that it starts to all match up again. Normally, like I said, if it is over a quarter of the plant, you're going to definitely want to pull it out. And then, of course, sometimes, it's awful because you need to balance your landscape and you're going to need to pull the other one out as well. But remember, plants don't last forever. So many times we built our house in the 70s and we landscaped them, and we might have had a shrub die here and there and replaced some of those in the 80s, but we think our landscape should look as good now in 2016 as it did in 1978 when we built our house. That doesn't happen. Plants do not live forever. And your landscape needs to be spruced up. We are definitely not landscaping like we used to. I'm going to be doing some teaching with the master gardeners of Stark County. And that's one of my topics, is how the landscapes have changed over the years. And we have to think about that. We don't landscape the same today as we landscaped in the 70s or even in the 80s or the early 90s. Things have changed. Plant selections, there's been new hybrids developed and new cultivars developed. And so we don't landscape the same. So don't expect your landscape from 1978 to stay with you through all these years. Just because you loved blue rug junipers then doesn't mean that blue rug junipers really belong in the landscape today. Not that they're a terrible plant. They have their place. But there's been a lot of better plants come out since that time that you might want to use instead of the blue rug juniper. And I'm just using that one as an example. So remember to recreate your landscape. It also gives your house a fresh look. If you have a painted house, you probably have a new paint job than you had in 1978. So also think about that. Remember, you changed the color of the shutters and the color of the front door. You might have changed the color of the whole entire house. Let's change the landscape up in, 35 years. Let's go ahead and get things changed up so things look good and fresh for you. And you want to make sure that you do that with the consulting of a landscaper. If you have a landscaper that you use on a regular basis and you want to do some of the things yourself, most landscapers are very, very, will work very well with you that way. And then you can do some of the stuff yourself and you feel like you're really a part of your landscape. And a lot of times you appreciate it so much more than if you just call someone up and tell them, please come and redo my landscape for me. You just get that. It's that sweat equity thing that you have that value in your landscape then. So redoing it is a great thing to do, but working on it yourself is also really good therapy for you. So that's a great idea to go ahead and do. Now, the next question that we have is about our weeds. And we always have weeds. And this one was a garden weed question. And they said, what is best in my vegetable garden to use a pre-emergent weed control like corn gluten meal, or is it better to use like a weed fabric? Well, that's really a personal preference. You have to remember with corn gluten meal, a pre-emergent weed control only stops weed seed, remember, or any seed from germinating. So you really don't want to throw down that corn gluten meal and then go out and plant your corn or your green bean seeds. It's not going to help. Also, it doesn't help any weeds that are already up or any weeds that are a perennial weed. It's not going to control them. So I guess I lean toward weed fabric. I like the organic ones that biodegrade at the end of the season. Now, they are, some people were like, well, I don't want to spend that kind of money on a weed material that I'm only going to get to use 1 year. Remember, it is an organic product and it is made of a material that's going to biodegrade and be good for your soil. So even though you're only going to use it as a weed mat for one season, it is good for your soil. So it does have a lasting effect, not for weed control, but for amending your soil. And you're going to be able to till it right in when you do your fall tilling. Now, so I really like that. The other thing is, though, you can use some corn gluten meal in areas where weed seed seems to be an issue. So your weed material can go down in between the rows, or it can be even in the rows, and you cut a hole for your seedlings. And then what you can do is do some corn gluten meal over the top. That means any seeds that would be falling from the dandelions or anything else that's going to be blowing around, it will stop that weed seed from germinating. I really like to use the corn gluten meal for that reason, because you always put some type of a material on the weed material to hold it down. So like if you're using rocks or something like that, and then always some dirt falls up on there. So you're always going to have some weed that will germinate on top, which those are always from weed seed, and you can stop that by the corn gluten meal. So it's always a good idea to use both of them if you have that opportunity to do so. And that's going to save a lot of issues for you when you are doing it. Now, the next question that we had was about a sensory garden. And these folks are doing a sensory garden. And actually, this must be a trendy thing, because I've had like 3 groups this spring doing sensory gardens. And one of them was a group of blind folks. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. So we went to, when we think about sensory gardens, things that not only do we see, but also things that we can touch and smell and hear. And so great plants for a sensory garden might be herbs, because so many herbs have wonderful, very distinct scents. And so like if you're using basil or rosemary or lavender, cilantro and dill, sorrel, it's just amazing the smells they have. But also some of them have amazingly different feels to their leaf tissue. Like the dill is very, very soft to touch. And the rosemary and the lavender are a little bit more coarse. Other plants to use in your sensory garden might be the citronella plant. It's a very structured leaf that has a lot of feeling to it. It feels like a very strong leaf, but again, very, very scented. Also, succulents are great for your sensory garden. Some of them, of course, the cactuses are in the succulent family. You don't want to do ones that you're not going to be able to see what those little thorns that you're going to touch. But like on the aloe vera, there's like little ridges, and the hens and chicks have little tips that are very rigid, but they're not going to hurt anyone. So those are all great plants for the sensory gardens that many of you are doing right now. And they are very interesting, and so much that you can do with them to bring a group of people together and share. It's a wonderful way also for a group of children to talk and relate to plants. And I think it's very important for us to get children involved in our gardens. So if you have an area of your vegetable garden or your flower garden that you can do a little sensory garden, if you have children in your life, this is a great way to get them involved and get them excited about the garden. So I think that that's going to be a great way. Now, remember again, if you have questions like this that you would like us to answer for you quickly, we don't just do them on the air. We'll answer your question if you call in. We just like to repeat them on the air because some folks never call in, but they do have some of these questions, so we like to answer them on the air as well. But if you have some of these questions, you can give us a call at 330-455-5997, or you can stop in at the store at 5828 Columbus Road. That's right on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway, and we're there in Nimishillen Township, right down the street from the Molly Stark Park. And so if you're interested in that, remember to get a hold of the Nimishillen Louisville Historical Society if you want more information on that. Now, the next question that we had was about Milky Spore. And a lot of you know what Milky Spore is, and some of you don't. The question was, when should I put my Milky Spore down, and what is it going to control, and how long does it last? So, first of all, Milky Spore is a live active spore that you are going to put down any time that the ground is not frozen, and it controls grubs. Now, some people think it will only control Japanese beetle grubs. I have had some luck with it controlling other type of grubs as well. But Japanese beetle grubs is its main control. Now with it, when it controls the grub, it's also going to control the Japanese beetle. And 1 teaspoon covers a 3 square foot area. So some people will like grid off their whole yard and measure out 1 teaspoon and put it right in the middle of that. I usually step off the yard. I have long legs, so my step is about 3.5 feet, and I'll pace the yard, putting down a teaspoon at the end of my toe. I pivot and turn at the end, take 1 step, put a teaspoon down, then I pivot and turn again, going back the same direction that I came from, but my first step is only a half step. I put my teaspoon down, then I take a full step and put my teaspoon down and then pace off again. That way all of my rows are staggered and you can cover the whole yard very quickly. Milky Spore is a fabulous product. Now, you need to get it down. Once you put it down, it's not going to control grubs that day. It needs a good 6 weeks to control it. That's why if you had a lot of Japanese beetles last year, you might want to make sure that you get your grub control down right away. The nice thing about it is when it starts controlling, it's going to control for 10 years as a minimum. The St. Gabriel's Company guarantees it for 10 years, even if you fertilize chemically, because the salts and chemical fertilizers will start to deplete the spores and they'll start dying off at around that 10-year mark. If you fertilize organically, or if you don't fertilize at all, you're usually going to have a good grub control for at least 15 years. And it's a fabulous product, and it works great to control those. And that thing is that, it might cost more, but remember, it's going to last you for all that time. And it is a great, great product. The next question that we have was about drought. And some people are worried about drought this year because we didn't have a lot of snow. And actually, even though we've had some rain this week, we are down a little bit on rain. And if we have a drought year, how is that going to affect our lawns and our gardens? And it is an issue. We need to think about it. There is a product called TM Ag, and it is a supplement soil conditioner that you can put down on your lawns and on your gardens. A lot of farmers are using this, especially organic farmers, use TM Ag on their fields so that they can be able to balance the drought better. And it feeds the plant while we're having, moisture, so that when we go into a drought period, it doesn't need as much water. And the plant is much healthier. So, it definitely is a good idea because it is something that we're probably going to have an issue with. And the people that are asking these questions about the drought are folks that has gone through a droughtful situation before and saw how it affected their lawns and their gardens, and they want to be proactive. This product, the TM Ag, is a great way to be proactive when you are anticipating a drought. Also, this product is great to just condition your soil. Like I said, it is an organic product. There's some of the scientists that's done some testing on this product actually consume it themselves because of its health benefits. But it is great to enrich your soil, and it is a fabulous product. A small 8-ounce bottle is highly concentrated. It's diluted down and sprayed and will cover up to 20,000 square feet. So if you have a bottle of this, you could treat your lawn, if you have the average 5,000 square foot lawn, you could treat your lawn 4 times this year with the TM Ag throughout the season and really enrich it. The soil to help your lawn. If you have had a lawn that's been struggling in the past, and you know that it needs some soil amending to do its best and to actually improve the way it looks and the way it grows, TM Ag is a great product to do that with. So hopefully we have answered everyone's questions this week on the show. And like I said, if you have questions, we welcome you to call us and or stop in or email your questions to us, because we want to make sure that we get all of your gardening questions answered. Here we are, one day away from May, and May is a very exciting time for us. We invite all of you to come out. We have beautiful hanging baskets and all types of flats of flowers and veggies. Remember, all of our vegetables are all grown organically with no synthetic fertilizers, no insecticides or fungicides that are not approved for organic gardening. And also we use no artificial weed controls. So everything that we use is all natural and approved for organic gardening. So we invite all of you to come out, especially all of you that garden organically, that want to make sure that you are getting organic seedlings, tomatoes and peppers and watermelon and cantaloupe and honeydew and all the cucumbers and all the cold crops that can go in right now. We are probably still going to have some cool temperatures, so make sure that you're aware of that. If you buy your hanging basket baskets this weekend for Mother's Day next weekend. You want to make sure that you do bring them in if they call for a frost. They're really not frost hardy, and we want to make sure that you don't lose your investment in your beautiful flowers. Remember also, if you buy from a local independent garden center and you have questions, we are all more than willing to give you information about how to take care of that plant so that it lives a long, healthy life, looks good for you throughout the season. And we want you to not have to come back and buy another one by the end of June when you're getting ready for that 4th of July party. So buy from a local independent garden center. There's several throughout our community, and we would all love to help you make that perfect selection so that your landscape looks beautiful, your flower gardens look beautiful, your vegetable gardens look beautiful, and we'll be praying that we have great weather this summer so that you all have wonderful harvest. Remember, there's a farmer's market next Saturday, Mother's Day weekend, May 7th from 9 to noon. They will be outside, and we have some wonderful, wonderful vendors. So please come out next Saturday. Come out this weekend. We're going to help you get your gardens all started, load you up with all that mulch that we have brought in this week. So come on over, and we're going to take care of all of your gardening needs. Thank you so much, and have a blessed week.